Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right. We're talking about Ghost Story on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, and it's your old pal Patrick Hamilton coming to you once again from Millburn, New York. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And of course, today we're going to unpack all the goriest of details of 1981's Ghost Story in the hopes that an old man's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust to supernaturally fling me naked through a window for reasons. The one, the only, Gena Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gena?
Just sending you flapping in the breeze.
You know what? We have talked about Craig Wasson and his floppy dick for so long without actually getting to this point. And now, in the wintry January month of 2026, we're finally getting to the root of the matter. And by the root, I mean the base of his penis.
What everybody's been waiting for. Boy, I can't wait till they explain Craig Watson's floppy penis.
You would think that the movie had nothing else to offer. Anyways, I don't want to scare you, Gena, but we are not alone. That's right. We have a special guest. You may know him as a professional editor here in the entertainment industry, but really, you should know him for his brief yet in-depth retro reviews on TikTok. The one, the only Brendan Murphy. How are you doing today, Brendan?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here about this specific movie because no one demanded it. No one on earth. But I was looking through, like, what are wintry, snowy movies? And then, Ghost Story. Universal's Ghost Story. I haven't watched that movie in a really long time. I own that on Blu-ray. I bought it a decade ago. And then I watched it. Brendan, when was the first time you watched Ghost Story?
Well, I think if you were to ask me that question 2 weeks ago, I would have a different answer than I do now. And the reason is I didn't remember something until the instant it happened in the movie. And back in like the early 80s, the VHS days, my older sister, I'm the youngest of four. So my older brothers and sister would scare the hell out of me with two tapes that they would, when they were babysitting, they're like, we're going to watch a movie. Okay. One was Madman, and it was that dun, 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 weird kind of music in the beginning where you just see that silhouetted tree, I think. And then what I didn't remember is that disembodied voice where she says, from this film, where she says like, you know who I am, or something like that. Where it's the first time you see her laying naked with the bizarro Craig and his brother. When I heard that disembodied voice where she's looking down, but you can tell it's like kind of ADR'd, it's different, it's kind of ethereal. Instantly it hit me like, oh my God, my sister used to scare me with this all the time. And it's one of those things like, you know, you smell something that it just instantly takes you back, or you hear a song or something. You don't really have to think about it. It just kind of hits you in the face. That happened as I'm watching it. I'm like, I don't remember any of this. I don't remember any of this. And then it cut to that part and it was like, this is one of the movies she used to scare me with. So to answer a long-winded way to answer your question, must have been somewhere around 84, 85, somewhere around there, a VHS copy that was played a few times in my house. And all I remembered was old men and a staircase.
You know what? That's all you need to know.
Which actually at the end of this, I was like, now I understand why I only remember an old man and staircase. Like, yeah, it makes sense.
No, you weren't compelled by the long foray into a small liberal arts college outside of Orlando, Florida. I mean,
it really went some places. Yeah,
it sure does.
It had some space. Yeah, that's for sure.
Gena, what about you? When was the first time you laid eyes on Ghost Story?
You know, I don't actually remember. Like, there are certain aspects of it that I know that I had to have seen it before, like Craig Watson's floppy penis.
Yeah, sure.
And I do remember much of the story involving the old men.
Yeah.
But I don't recall, like, when I was watching again, like this, the whole sequence with like the heroic Craig Wasson instead of dead Craig Wasson, and his whole flashback with Alice Krieg. Is that that's what I say?
I
Alice
believe
Krieg
so. Yeah.
Like, I didn't remember any of that. I'm like, wow, this takes up a lot of real estate.
It really does, yeah.
And there's like a graphic sex scene, which I did not expect in this otherwise like understated, old fashioned ghost story. And it does feel like you're watching two different movies, which I think is the intended effect.
I think there's a lot of things that are intended here, and they're mashing them together because so much of the novel is cut out of this.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I mean,
so you've both read the novel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this is about a fraction of what happens. You know how she's appearing to Craig Watson and his character as his brother, as this character Alma Mobley, but she's also Eva Galley to the older characters.
Right.
In the book, there's like, I think maybe 6 different versions of her.
Oh, interesting.
Including one that turns into a wasp at one point.
One that turns into a lynx by the lake.
It's a very weird book.
It really
cool.
is. But I will say, it is a really good and scary book.
It is. And it's a very, absorbing, but yeah, this barely scratches the surface of what happens in the book.
For me, this movie is inexorably tied to me growing up here in Los Angeles, because I distinctly remember seeing trailers for this movie while in line for the Universal Studios tram tour as a kid. And it was just flush with a bunch of movies I would never get to see with my actual eyeballs, for a very long time. I was the opposite of you, Brendan. I was the oldest of 4.
Yeah.
So my viewing habits were very policed. And Universal was super cheap to go to as opposed to Disneyland. So we went to Universal once a year because I was very into the monster movies, even though I wasn't allowed to watch any of them. But while we were in line, they would have these monitors outside, and they would just play nothing but upcoming or previously released Universal movies. And I remember this being a part of a set that included Conan the Barbarian, An American Werewolf in London, The Thing eventually, and the most horrific clips I've ever seen in my life for Heart Beeps. That movie.
I mean, honestly, your parents should have brought up on charges for exposing you to that.
Heart Beeps. We like to caution listeners that if they don't get a reference here, just keep a Wikipedia page open on whatever you're using, because all the information is going to be available for you. But as we mentioned, Ghost Story is a very good book. It's written by Peter Straub, who originally published this in 1979. Admittedly, Straub liked horror as a reader, but then published 2 sort of like, I wouldn't say romance. They were just like relationship drama books that kind of didn't go anywhere. And he turned to it as a genre because of its popularity. In the aftermath of blockbuster books from William Peter Blatty and The Exorcist, Ira Levin and Rosemary's Baby, and Thomas Tyron's The Other, Straub decided, I'm going to work in the supernatural in my next novel. And that was released as Julia and was later adapted into a Mia Farrow vehicle in 1977 called The Haunting of Julia. It's not great, but Ghost Story is Straub's 5th novel. And in my opinion, and I've read the vast breadth of his work, it is his very best. It's genuinely unnerving. It did really good business. It evokes on purpose many of the best authors of American supernatural fiction over the years, including Nathaniel Hawthorne, Henry James, and a newcomer to that list by a little guy named I guess he was a teacher. Oh yeah, Stephen King. It's pretty wild that Staub was able to craft something that evokes so much of what made Stephen King's Salem's Lot so iconic without aping it in one particular way or another. It's just that he was encouraged that King was able to make Salem's Lot come alive. Like, you get to know a lot of people in that town. And it's the one thing that, for me at least, and for Gena as well, made the recent adaptation for it. And I say recent because by the time it actually premiered, it was 3 or 4 fucking years old. But the one thing about that new Salem's Lot is you don't get to know that town. I don't know why they call it Salem's Lot. You barely know anyone there. And then in the book, you meet all sorts of people. And in Ghost Story, it's the same. Everyone seems to have a story. Everyone is affected by Eva or the ghost or whatever the hell she is.
She has like a grip on the whole town.
Yes.
Okay.
She's driving everyone crazy. My favorite sub-story in it is this guy who owns the local movie theater. And for some reason, no matter what he shows, it always plays Night of the Living Dead. And then he becomes hypnotized by Night of the Living Dead.
That's excellent.
And spoiler alert, at the end, the zombies come off the screen. And he becomes part of Night of the Living Dead. It's fucking brilliant. I love it. What he manages to do is populate the town with a bunch of interesting side towning characters who descend into madness. And it all feels grounded and disturbing and lived in. And it's just really cool. This is probably why years later, Straub and King would team up for a dark tower-shaded horror fantasy take on Tom Sawyer called The Talisman. Spoiler alert, the severed head of Don Wanderley turns up in the Talisman sequel, Black House. It's a blink and you miss it reference. Like, the main character turns a corner, sees Don Wanderley's head on a pike, and for like they call it out, like, how would he fucking know who this guy is? It doesn't matter. It worked for me because that's about all I remember from Black House. So what makes Ghost Story the rare Stephen King universe entry, which it kind of is because these characters turn up in Stephen King stories. So it's weird that Ghost Story is both Stephen King universe adjacent and entirely divorced from it. That said, I read Ghost Story after Uncle Steve praised its craft and writing in his nonfiction work, Dance Macabre. And I agree wholeheartedly with Uncle Steve. Ghost Story is a fantastic novel, which manages to immerse the reader into the heads of these 4 old men, actually 5 in the book, and the haunted stories they tell to shield their souls from the terrible thing they did in their past. Because as Gena so plainly put it in our text to one another, these fuckers couldn't handle managing their polycule.
Well, I said that there's like a, the scene where they're like following down the street. It's like that old Dover Brothers cartoon where they're like, where they're just, they got their little floater hats and they're going to take her to for a ride on a penny farthing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That whole section. It was odd, but I think it was well done. Like, that was the interesting part. It's like, I think this is oddly placed, should be way up front. And number 2, though, I was like, but this is kind of interesting. Like, I found it interesting, but totally separate and totally coming at the wrong time. Yeah. Like, it just threw me for a loop. And then it kind of went on for a long time as well.
Yeah, it's got serious 23 skidoo energy rolling.
Yeah, they should be going for like a phosphate at the local soda shop or something.
Egg creams should be mentioned more often throughout it. But yeah, there's like straw hats and like there's spats on display. It's
there's a lot of there's a lot of after you, no, my good man, after you.
And yes, I agree with you in that it's weirdly placed, but also so much of this is just shaved down from where the book is. Like, the book is this expansive thing, and they're like, and Universal spends $1 million to get the rights for it. It was that hot of a property. They're just looking at it like, okay, it isn't Stephen King, but it might, for all we know, this guy could be bigger than Stephen King. Look at the sales on this bad boy. And so They get the rights to it. They get a screenwriter who, wrote the screen version of Carrie. And they think, oh my God, this is easy as pie. And then they look at the manuscript and it's like 600 pages with a bunch of shit like stapled to one another. And they're like, oh, how do we even approach this? It instantly becomes obvious to them that whatever makes this work as a novel may not make it work as a movie. But, the book is the first time that Straub started playing with something that's pretty frequent in his novels, and that's meta-narrative, where characters begin to see the world that they live in almost as if it's a dream or a fairy tale or a thin veneer where they're often not in control of their actions, but fated to make choices written for them by some unseen author. That's right. A lot of his novels have a duck-amuck energy to them where like people don't want to make the decisions they make, but they have to because the author said that they did.
Right.
And it works in a book. And then you adapt it into a movie and you're like, why the fuck would you do that? It's like, well, the entire reason for their character motivation to do that is not attached to what you're watching. It's completely divorced. So there's a reason why a lot of his works have not made the leap to the silver screen.
Yeah, especially there's plenty of things that I've worked on editing wise where we've had to cut down, and it's just a brutal thing to do in a story like this, because especially when you're talking about the world building and the town and feeling that she is a part of the town, that's the one part of the movie. I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but the one part of it didn't feel like a town. Like at the end, I was like, so did anybody know this was happening? Did anybody want to look in this little pond after 50 years?
Right. Like they have this scene where where she's, they're watching some sort of musical, they're watching some sort of concert, and everybody's just like, I've never seen her before.
Right.
Eva Kali. And like, everybody's just like absolutely dazzled by this woman. And she, apparently is, independently wealthy because she has this, this beautiful mansion she lives in all by herself.
Right.
And, she's being wooed by this, cluster of four bozos, who are, constantly together at all times, which, to me would certainly raise eyebrows, in 1920s New England or upstate New York. I think it was supposed to be. And then she just like disappears like, well, all right. That was interesting, I suppose.
Right. And nobody took her house. That was the other thing. I'm like, oh, they just left the house. Like that was
they left
nice.
the house to be taken over by a street thug and a Dickensian orphan.
Yes. What their role is more fleshed out in the book. I assume
that part just did not work for me at all because they did so little with it.
Because they're from a completely different part of the story. They're from one of them tells this very specific story about being a teacher in a one-room schoolhouse and having two kid urchins whom no one wants to socialize with in the class. And the reason why they're ostracized is they're constantly talking about this older brother that's going to take them in the night. And then he finds out that the older brother that's constantly stalking them has been dead for years. And you're like, okay, that makes sense as a story someone tells, but just ripping them out of that and having them wander around like Mutt and Jeff in this makes no fucking sense.
Because all you can ask is like, does a ghost need henchmen?
Well, that's
like Jigsaw. Eva has a posse,
right? And they're talking the way the one that actually speaks, the man, he's making it sound like she's a vampire or something.
Yeah, like they were gonna make him immortal. Like it just, I don't know if he said that, but that was the vibe I got of like what it was. They just seemed like kind of greasers that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. They could have absolutely just cut that part out entirely, and it wouldn't have really made a difference.
Yeah. I just the list of things that they did cut are so crazy. I mean, just to bring this back for a second, I do love the last little sentence of the Wikipedia is that, Dawn is spared from her vengeance and the town is restored to peace. The town didn't even know this shit was happening.
No, you have like the only people that you see, from the rest of the town are like two of the old men's wives.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of them is literally she's credited at the beginning, Patricia Neal, but she gets one scene.
Yes. One scene where she tells her husband, I don't even fucking know you.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah,
I mean, at least
we don't.
At least the other wife gets more to do, especially in the series. She's like, last night you tried to strangle me. Can you believe it? It's just like,
that's wild. Anyways, I have your soup.
Yeah, she's very casual about the attempted murder last night.
Yeah, she really takes it in stride.
Yes. It's a wonderful marriage, actually.
Yeah, I snore once, and oh my God, right? Do I hear it now these days?
Yeah, she's more pissed about these other old men hanging out at their house than like him, like almost choking her out in the middle of the night.
She really takes it in stride.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, and even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
So whatever Eva isn't really laid out in this. It's just like, okay, is she a ghost? She has henchmen if she's a ghost, but she seems to like affect physical things that happen.
Like she's a ghost. She's a ghost you could have sex with.
Yeah, well, right. The best kind. This and Ghostbusters, the two ghosts you can have sex with. So in his books, Straub, he uses his supernatural involved, vengeful spirits in a very specific way. And I like to liken it to The Pit and the Pendulum, where there's this razor hung and it's just swinging back and forth over all these characters. And sooner or later, those ghosts will just slice through you. And there's just nothing you can do about it. You're waiting your fucking turn. So in the book, at least, Eva Galley / Alma / Anna, even like Gregory Bate at one point, are souls that are enslaved to the Manitou. And when I say that, no, I'm not talking about the super groovy 1978 Indigenous Exorcist riff starring Tony Curtis in a fucking kimono at one point, in which his gal pal finds a boil on her back that later becomes an evil 400-year-old medicine man. Yes, that's a real movie.
Oh, I need to see that.
Oh, run. No, actually walk slowly.
Yeah, take a leisurely pace.
Take a leisurely pace to Manitou.
My description just made it sound awesome. I promise you, about 45 minutes in, you'll be going, this is an Exorcist ripoff? Like, how is this working out? That was also another groovy ass novel. But at least in terms of what a Manitou is, you look it up and you hear, oh, it's a supernatural force that, according to Algonquin conception, pervades the natural world in some form. It's a figure of indigenous mythology that has often been cast as a nefarious trickster spirit, usually by white people with little to no relation of its actual place in tribal pantheons. That being said, it's a shapeshifter here, and it's looking to gather unfortunate souls. It entraps them and it enslaves them, and then it just gathers an army for whatever fucking reason. Not that any of that really matters in this, but it does kind of explain the two Bates and like why they would be told, hey, I'm going to make you immortal, and they believe it for whatever reason. That's part of the whole Manitou element of the book, but it doesn't really translate. So what happened to this layered novel when Hollywood producers purchased the rights? Well, as we've often said, when you adapt one medium for another, you take what works for, say, a movie, and you leave what didn't quite translate from the book behind. And so they buy this book, they bring on Carrie screenplay adapter Lawrence Cohen. And let's remember, Carrie is 200 breezy fucking pages. Like, almost everything that's in that book is in the 1976 movie. So he's kind of a go-to guy for horror novel adaptations at this moment in time. So he's brought in to trim this nearly 500-page book and tame it into a film for mainstream release. And that meant losing much of what makes the book so indelible. The smaller stories of the Chowder Society and all the weirdness that happens with the town people, and they're being transported into fairy tale forests, and movies are coming alive. It's a whole fucking thing. And then Universal brings on John Irving to direct, who had just done a TV version of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy that was very well received. He had directed another movie that was waiting release. And he would go on after this to do a lot of pseudo hard-boiled action movies, which you would never cast him for out of this. I think there's more of an aftermath of the Tinker Tailor thing, including two movies that I just have to mention. One, the Arnold Schwarzenegger is a small town sheriff who goes undercover with the mob movie Raw Deal, which never gets past the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger is a small town sheriff. And like everyone talks about, like, you grew up here. Yes, I grew up here in this small town.
That southern drawl he has.
Yes. Speaking of which, the second movie is the hillbilly versus the mob tale of Next of Kin, in which Liam Neeson's certain set of skills does not include an Appalachian accent.
But Bill Paxton has enough of one for the both of them.
That's true.
And actually, there's a scene in that takes place in Chicago in a blues bar we used to go to, the Checkerboard Lounge. So yeah. They show up in I love that movie.
That movie has one of the great I'm going to hide a venomous snake in this tree tricks.
Yes.
That then gets replicated movie after movie after movie. Like, it's the first one I remember, but it does not feature Jean-Claude Van Damme punching it out before the trap is set. One of the most successful elements of the film, however, that should be shouted out here before I savage it, is the work of Dick Smith, who created multiple ghastly visions, some of which were even edited out of the finished product. When the doctor dies, he's visited by Eva and she turns into a wet skeleton. Mm-hmm. You can't even see that. Look, there's like, if you have the Blu-ray, there's a cut scene, but they just filmed a bunch of shit that never made it into the movie. But one ghoul who's just like a mouth with fangs and no eyes, you will see in the House on Haunted Hill remake.
Look, nice to know they recycled it for something.
Yeah. So they have this adult horror movie, And then when they start watching it, they're like, oh shit, this isn't going to play, guys. I don't think this is going to work. We need to spookify this thing. And they just like start throwing wet skeletons at it. And the wet skeletons look cool. I don't know that they're photographed all that particularly well, but what are you going to do?
I mean, I think that one that comes out of the car at the end.
Oh,
it's pretty boss. And it's got like skin falling off.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
I really like that.
That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. And I thought like the first one when he fell off the bridge, like that was a nice jump. Like I really like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. It like cuts to a tight shot of it, and then the person dies off screen.
But it also sets up that like they're going to be visited by this ghouly ghost thing, and every time you see it, it's going to be in a different state of disrepair. And then they're kind of like, oh, I don't know. And then they back off of that after going through all the extra expense of filming all this stuff.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Well, that's why the word I would use in the end is restrained.
Yeah.
I think that they really wanted to make a very, old-fashioned horror film.
Yeah.
And I think that, it also shows in the way the old men characters were portrayed, where, and again, this is something that is, often difficult to do when translating a book over to the screen is, bring in a lot of the internal life of the characters.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just because that was difficult or because no one wanted to, make Fred Astaire seem like, kind of an asshole.
Right.
But like, I don't remember having a whole lot of pity for these characters in the book.
Yeah.
They were pretty arrogant about the whole thing. But here, you've got Melvin Douglas. He's just sobbing and having these nightmares and I mean, they're all, except for maybe John Houseman, who's, kind of a pompous ass because he always is and everything, maybe except for his small role in The Fog. But
he's also like spookifying 8-year-olds on the beach at midnight in The Fog.
But like everybody, all the rest of them are racked with guilt.
Yeah.
Over this, what was initially, covering up what they thought was an accidental death.
Yes.
But then they realized she's still alive and they let her die.
Yeah.
So, slightly worse than what the kids in the new I Know What You Did Last Summer did.
They're actually guilty of something here.
Yeah. I mean, like they would have faced some consequences for it. But like, they're not just coasting on, that happened.
Right.
They've been living with this pain for decades.
Yeah.
And, and I think that, again, there's no satisfaction in watching Douglas Fairbanks Jr. take a header off a bridge. I mean, like, you don't enjoy like what happens to these characters. Like they live tormented, they die tormented.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like a gender swapped version of a hagsploitation film, which is an element I genuinely like. And I think the casting here is pretty cool in the sense that like Fred Astaire is the most likable of them. Melvin Douglas is kind of like a whimpering fool. And Douglas Fairbanks Jr., holy shit, that guy is handsome as fuck. Holy Moses, he's good looking.
Yeah, and the actor they got to play him as a young man like looks like it. That was weird. That was some astonishing casting.
The younger version of Fred Astaire has the ears, and you're like, okay, all right, okay, yeah. I get this.
Yeah, I think the only one that didn't really look like it was the most recognizable one. That was Ken Olin from 30-something, who plays a young John Houseman.
Yeah, that was odd. Yeah.
I mean, everybody else was dead on, but I don't know how they came up with that connection.
Yeah, it's a weird one. But of that cast, I think is well cast. Again, it is this, okay, we're making a movie and we're going to see these people a lot, so we can't make them too much of an a-hole. And I'll give them this. Fairbanks and Houseman come off as a-holes. Like Fairbanks
Fairbanks is kind of that classic, withholding parent.
Yes, very much.
You know, he's kind of playing the twin sons against each other. And I mean, they don't, again, because they just left it out. I'm not quite sure why unmustachioed Craig Wasson is like the failure son. I mean, he's a college professor.
Yeah,
that seems pretty good to me. And like mustachioed Craig Wasson is a successful businessman. What does he do? We don't know. It's business. He's wealthy.
He's business.
He lives in a high rise, and so he's the successful son.
Yeah,
and she was really interested in that too, didn't she? Didn't like pique her interest when they said, "Oh, he's more like my father." Is that what it was?
Oh yeah. As part of her extremely elaborate revenge plot that involves her moving to Florida.
Yes,
that is going out of your way
to get a job as a secretary at a small college.
She's really working her way from the bottom up
just to jump scare him on a bridge.
To jump scare this dude on a bridge. It's a long way to go for revenge, but I guess she's got nothing but time. When you say like the twins thing, that I looked up some reviews of this. Roger Ebert, the best thing he said is, "This is a good movie." That's pretty much it. Vincent Canby, from the New York Times, the first 10 or 12 minutes of Ghost Story are excellent. And if those don't grab you, nothing will. Yet as Ghost Story goes on and though the complications increase, the mystery becomes less and less mysterious until during the final 6 or 7 minutes, you may want to hurl a sharp instrument at the screen. You've been had. So has Mr. Straub, but I assume he was at least handsomely paid. The LA Times, the continuity is so bad and so tangled that the tendency is to giggle and the confusion only gets worse. I'm not sure we're ever told that Craig Wasson and his brother are twins.
Well, I mean, that seems like you just kind of missed it. But the part where they have a conversation on the phone.
They do. But it's also the first time it's genuinely introduced that they're two different. I mean, I guess I can see where it'd be a little bit confusing since it does open with mustachioed Craig Wasson's death. Right.
I was completely confused. I thought that was him.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I went into it, already knowing that. I don't remember if when I saw it initially that was confusing, but I can certainly see how it would be.
Who's on your side, Gena? Is notorious movie watcher. He's definitely seen that movie. Rex Reed for the New York Daily News, who said the film's screen legend cast was, quote, wasted and lambasted the film as a, quote, horrible adaptation of the source material. I do not believe that Reed either saw the movie or read the book.
Oh, I'm certain he did not. No
one has fallen asleep in more movies than Rex Reed, everybody. That being said, the movie was made for about $13 million. That includes the mill that went to Straub and went wide on December 18th of 1981. This was released at Christmas time. Super smart. And pulled in exactly $24 million. So no one lost their shirt, but no one decided this is what we need more of.
Yeah, I think that if you compare it to another old-fashioned ghost movie that came out roughly around the same time, The Changeling. The Changeling is always going to be the most superior movie. The
Changeling is like amazing. Another movie I highly considered for this, but we had too many good ones. And it's another movie I'm kind of intimidated to talk about because it's too good and not nearly enough people die in it. But that's neither here nor there. It should be noted that this was nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Horror Movie. It lost to An American Werewolf in London. Who would have thought?
Appropriate.
But also nominated all movies we've covered: Dead and Buried, Halloween 2, Wolfen, Gena. Also, Best Low Budget Film of the same Saturn Awards. The winner was Fear No Evil. Brendan, have you ever seen Fear No Evil?
Whoa!
Remind me of what Fear No Evil is. It sounds familiar, but it's not ringing a bell.
teen Omen in high school, and he just causes gender confusion nightmares in everybody. And then they have a passion play by the beach, and local Jesus starts bleeding from his hands.
Oh, no. I have not seen this, but I know what I'm about to watch as soon as I can.
They have a killer dodgeball sequence.
Yeah, he makes a coach accidentally kill someone with a dodgeball.
When is it? Early 80s?
Oh, yeah. It's like 81. 81. It's fascinating.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's the best VHS cover you've ever seen in your life, and I was just scared as shit of it. And then I saw the movie.
That was the yearbook one, right?
Yeah.
That scared me too.
It's great. But we've covered almost every other thing in this low budget category. Madman, which we were talking about earlier, of course, legendary for its slow motion, rotating jacuzzi love scene and nothing else. Night Warning, which is, what is the actual title of Night Warning, Gena?
The Butcher
Baker Night.
Oh, yeah.
Which fucking rules.
Yeah, that's great.
It just really high key, actually good. And then a movie we love on this show for reasons, The Unseen, another movie. Oh my God.
Is the Unseen
that's just like a Hall of Fame right there.
It really is.
Is The Unseen the kids in the basement and like the dirt pile in the basement? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, he's not so much a kid.
Oh, right. It's
he's like a
man-child.
Man-child.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I just saw it for the first time, I think last Halloween when I was binging a bunch of horror I hadn't seen. That's a great movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
Well, great,
has one of the best title cards we've ever seen in our lives, where I'm trying to look up what it exactly is, because we've threatened forever to put it on a t-shirt. Gena, do you remember what it is?
I don't. The only thing I remember, the only thing that stands out for me is that was the origin of Dirty Peanut.
Yes, that is the origin of Dirty Peanut.
Patrick could not remember the name of Pigpen from Peanuts.
From Peanuts,
and so he just called him Dirty Peanut. I mean, I knew who he was talking about, but I just was delighted by that. And now Dirty Peanut has become our general name for like any just kind of disgusting character. It doesn't have to be the villain,
no, but
just any disgusting character who just lives in a shack or some kind of hovel and it's just really just unclean.
I love it.
He's a Dirty Peanut.
He's a Dirty Peanut.
It's very specifically listed on screen as and Stephen First as Junior, aka the Unseen. I'm just oh my God, what a credit. I don't know that we've had a better credit than that one. It's unbelievable. Anyways, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Ghost Story. So yeah, the only one we haven't covered out of that is Alice, Sweet Alice. So
it's funny you say that, because it's this and Alice, Sweet Alice were two, and Watcher in the Woods are three that for some reason I just have not gone back to. Alice, Sweet Alice, everyone's it's amazing. You got to go back to it. Same kind of thing. My brothers and sisters scared me with it. And I keep, for some reason, I'm I just haven't hit play yet. But one of these nights, and I think this is probably the nudge, it's going to get me to go back.
Yeah.
Alice, Sweet Alice is it's gross.
It's gross.
It's a well-made movie, but it's really unpleasant.
I think that's what my memories are of it too, of just creepy, those again, staircase and rain and raincoats and gross.
Yeah. You've got this sort of pedophile coded landlord and everybody. They're just it's another one of those movies, and we've covered these a lot. It just kind of seems to have a coating of grime over it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm probably hesitant.
It's not like they went, they didn't think about it ahead of time. That is the point of the movie, is it is that seedy, but
yeah. That and Maniac, I kind of put in those two categories. I'm
Maniac is definitely got to scrub your eyeballs
exactly.
after watching it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which makes have you ever seen the remake with Elijah Wood?
No.
Oh, good.
Is it good?
It's very good. It's very good, and it's very different. It's kind of almost glossy, for lack of a better word. Like a lot of things got like the bisexual lighting and like the sort of like
interesting.
Like it was like it's not very much. It's a similar plot, but it's very much trying to be its own thing.
The genius is the way it's told, and I won't give it away. But the way it's told is very unique, and they commit to the bit, and it
actually works.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent! I can't wait. Let's check it out.
So let's get into the movie a little bit. And I will say, I think the problem with kids today is that they don't wear tuxes to storytelling groups.
No, we don't gather with our grandpies and tell spooky stories.
The meta narrative elements of the book are what really trip up the proceedings of this movie, because at some point, the director is attempting to make this look, and he says this in the commentary, he wants to make it look like a Christmas card. And you're like, okay, but this stuff makes like a Hammer horror movie look like Mean Streets. It's very glossy, but he is asking one of the greats of matte painting to do what he wants. So Albert Whitlock really does that. Like, there are some really good Albert Whitlock matte paintings, because where they filmed this, they couldn't find any fucking snow. It's one of those movies where they went up as far north as they could, and it was not a winter where snow was. So there's a lot of vista shots of the town that Whitlock is just painting snow on rooftops. Mm-hmm. And you're like, it looks invisible. And then sometimes it looks like the worst book your grandfather reads to you on Christmas night. It's just, it's kind of sucks. But there's an artificiality to some of these sequences that don't necessarily work. The opening sequence is a story in which Houseman is telling a tale of a man who's been buried alive. They did it by making a plexiglass coffin with paper that had a wood appearance on it. And then they shot light through it to give the ghostly appearance, like he's trapped inside the coffin. And you're like, oh, that's really interesting. And then they shove Craig Wasson out of a fucking window, and you just see green screen everywhere.
Oh yeah, that green screening is rough.
Yeah.
It's just, I watched it like 5 times because it's like hopelessly, comically, incredibly inept in its execution. But I know exactly how it was done. But what really puts it over the top is deciding to let Craig Wasson's, quote, significant shrinkage, if you want to put it in Seinfeldian terms, just let his wang fly in this, which I applaud, because we need more dick in movies, but do we need this dick in movie?
And it was so early. It was so really early in the film.
It's really early for flaccid cock. I have to imagine it just produced audible laughter in theaters. I could not find anyone calling it out specifically. So maybe they forgot about it after, but to me, it's one of the most memorable things that actually happens.
I'm shocked that isn't the element I remembered as a kid, because I remember a lot of breasts, and I remember that lady, and
but this is like almost equal opportunity nudity here, because you're seeing a lot of what those buns do, Gena.
You are.
Now, hold on. Buckle up, everybody, because I'm about to tell you how this effect is done. You're like, Patrick, anyone can look shit up on the internet. I didn't learn this from the internet, because guess what? I'm a goddamn expert in this particular special effect. Why? Because I hosted the Universal Studios Hollywood World of Cinemagic show for an entire fucking summer, including the Alfred Hitchcock stage, which was haunted as fuck. It no longer exists now. It is part of the Transformers ride. But when I worked there, baby, that was a room that I started up morning after morning after morning, and it just made the back of your neck. It was the scariest place I'd ever been in my life. It was fucking crazy in there. That being said, part of the Hitchcock stage was showing you how you could film a man falling from a great height within an actual sound stage. It's pretty easy. You just, get Wasson to get buck naked, lie down on a reclining green chair with a green screen behind him. And then you have a camera on a giant crane and you ratchet it up towards the roof as fast as you possibly can with a guy attached to that camera because he has to pull focus while this happens. Sadly, this is not the movie that they use as an example in World of Cinemagic when I worked there. That was Hitchcock's Saboteur. So the volunteer did not have to whip out their dick 5 times an hour, but it's basically the same thing. Which brings us, Brendan, you're new here to this, but Gena and I have long discussed the cinematic enigma that is Craig Wasson. He's long been the primary nemesis of ours, despite the fact we've only discussed him in 2 movies. And I just was wondering, what is your relationship to Mr. Craig Wasson?
Well, I will say I'm one of those people that tries to avoid looking something up as long as I possibly can.
Sure.
And it was driving me crazy where I knew him from. Mm-hmm. And it was until midway through that I remembered Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
And I love Dream Warriors. However, it was going to be one of the first movies I reviewed, and I bought the 5-disc set of the first 5, and only Dream Warriors is faulty and doesn't work. So I had this whole screw Dream Warriors, screw that whole movie, screw everyone involved. So that's once I wrapped it around, I was like, well, all right. So that's sort of how I feel, but it just, I don't have any strong feelings otherwise, besides the fact that I've now seen him without his pants on.
So without having watched it recently, I'll ask you the question I ask many people when Craig Wasson comes up on this fucking podcast. And that is, who is the main character of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors?
Besides Freddy? Or are we just saying, okay.
He is the antagonist, but who is the main character?
Doesn't Nancy come back?
She does. She does come back 45 minutes into the movie.
Okay, I was going to say Nancy. Or Nancy or one of the kids, but I hadn't seen it in a while. So,
no, that's the thing. That is the thing. He's Craig Wasson.
Craig Wasson?
The character of that movie, and no one remembers it because he's completely not memorable. He plays Dr. Neil. Let's discuss this supposed dream demon over wine and cheese at my apartment, Gordon. And he's one of the worst characters in horror history. You can fucking quote me on it. What many consider to be the best nightmare film in the franchise, and no one remembers he's actually there. He sucks in that movie.
Is he even tormented by Freddy in any way or anything? Or is it just
eventually? Here's the wild fucking thing. People memory hole that this character exists, and yet he is the character that nearly all of the discoveries in the film are given to. He is the one who learns that Freddy's mom is a ghost nun. He dispatches Freddy in that movie. Do you remember that?
No, but now I do when you said it.
Yeah, because why would you want Nancy, the person with the most experience killing Freddy in the real world, when you could put Craig Wasson fighting a fucking skeleton in a junkyard in this movie?
Oh, man, I forgot about the junkyard scene, too.
He witnesses Nancy's dad die. Why the fuck is he in the real world? Why is Nancy in the dream? It is the worst part of what is arguably a great movie. And I say this as someone who is also critical of a wizard who dies in a hallway. It's a little half-baked, everybody. But every nightmare movie has to have one death that they're like, oh, did we run out of money? That looks like we ran out of money. So yeah, Craig Wasson is the subject of much consternation on this show. And I think he works best in, say, Body Double, where he is a rube who you can naturally go, oh, that guy you could frame for murder real easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the platonic ideal of the useful idiot.
Yes. And he is fucking useless in this movie too. He's useless in both roles.
You know what? I'm going to say a little something.
Sure. Go for it.
I think he's trying. I think he is trying. Not so much as Don was. Wait, which one was the one that was David? The one that died?
Yes.
Okay. He's not so much as David because he's not really in the movie that much. He's got maybe 2 scenes.
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, I'm not saying he's always successful, but you can see the effort being made.
Yeah.
You know, he does have a funny scare face, which is, but you know, he's willing to scream when he's scared.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. You know, he was willing to get naked a couple times. So bless him for that.
Yes. He's very naked in this movie.
You know, that takes some bravery.
Sure does.
You know, I think I'm going to give him a C+ for effort.
It's the best thing we've seen him in. He makes the most sense in Body Double, but I will agree with you. He is trying the most here and doing the most in the sense that he plays 2 roles. But his movie star allure, I still find mystifying. I don't know what party he showed up with an 8 ball to gain his career, and he must have been great in the fucking room, but I don't get him as a fucking movie star. God knows they tried.
Yeah.
Also, I do think it's funny that they repeatedly, the older men, now granted, these dudes are all like in their 80s, but they repeatedly refer to him as the boy.
Yeah.
And he is in the far end of his 30s.
Yeah. He does not seem boyish in any.
Yeah. I mean, and his whole like interactions with Douglas Fairbanks Jr., who plays his father, you know, suggests that his character is actually rather a bit younger.
Yes.
Than Watson appears to be. Like maybe someone in like, he was sort of, you know, wayward guy in like his 20s.
Mid-20s, I think, is what they're casting him as. And if he is,
you know, like it'll be very, very much a, you know, why don't you get your life together like your brother?
Right.
Yeah. Which you're not usually hearing by your 30s.
Yeah.
Right. Especially that scene when they're like having dinner where he said, I slept with her. And he's like, I will not have you talk about your brother's fiance or whatever it was. And it's like this
ex-fiance.
Yeah. He certainly seemed like 10 years older than that conversation.
All the men that the older movie stars that we're talking about are part of the Chowder Society. Businessman Ricky Hawthorne, lawyer Sears James, physician John Jaffrey, and Don's incredibly handsome but very mean dad, Mayor Edward Wanderley. And they're all having vivid dreams of a woman who reveals herself to be a living corpse, which is the kind of thing, when you see it, you want to defenestrate yourself through a window and fall for what feels like a long time to a pool's concrete. But this is going around because after Don returns home hearing that his brother is dead and about to be buried, Mayor Ed sees his deceased twin son wander off into the snow. And it's only when he reaches the bridge that goes into town that Ed is confronted by that same corpse in real life and falls to his death to the icy river, pond, lake below. We're never really told if it's water that moves. But Ricky visits a very Norman Bates-like abandoned home of a former paramour, Eva Galley, which looks like it's just been waiting for Jigsaw to play a game inside, given all that peeling wallpaper, Gena.
Yes.
It's very brown. And I'm sure it's full of black mold. But there's not a pig mask or a vat of sleep juice to be found here. Ricky runs into 2 transients that go by the name of Gregory and Fenny Bate, who claim to know the late owner of the house. I'm not entirely sure what they're going for with the looks here. Does anyone have a guess as to why they're dressed in the ways they're dressed?
I mean, Fenny just looks to me like, remember the scene in A Christmas Carol when the ghost of Christmas present shows the 2 kids
under his
ignorance, ignorance and want, and like they're like these little feral children.
Right.
That's basically what Fenny is. He's like ignorance,
but Fenny's also distinctly wearing a dirty nightgown.
I thought Fenny was a girl. But then I was like, I don't know if they would have the girl without a shirt. But then I was like, there's a lot of bold moves in this movie. So
Fenny, listen, we don't need to really necessarily, peg Fenny with any particular gender. But absolutely, that character is wearing a child's nightgown as a shirt. Whereas Gregory, I think they're going in between a less formal chauffeur from Burnt Offerings or a scuzzier king bully with a toady and a dress who follows him around.
He's definitely got some sort of like, almost like kind of 50s greaser kind of thing going on.
It's greaser is what I thought.
Yeah, it's a greaser bully from Stephen King. It just wandered onto the set, which I in a meta narrative makes a lot of sense, but in the frame of this movie makes next to none.
And they don't really do anything.
No.
They just kind of, they just pull a little, just trying to freak you out, baby, and that's it.
They menace.
And then the kid ends up killing off John Houseman's character.
But how? How?
Yeah, they just show him jump at him in the car, right? It's just it's one of those moments. Yeah.
Well, he is like 112.
This is true.
It doesn't take that much to kill him at that point.
He just shook him real hard.
When you're right, Radcliffe. Later, Don is visited by Gregory and Finney at his late father's home. Beware of urchins bearing mouth gifts, everybody. That's right. Finney just goes, "Erp," and a necklace comes out of his fucking mouth. And it's supposed to be creepy. But what it comes off on is like, how'd you get that whole necklace in your mouth? And how long did you have to keep it there?
I just thought of Goonies when Mouth is spitting everything out in Goonies.
When you're right, you're right. I think the most nightmarish vision in this entire film is the idea of having to teach D.H. Lawrence to Florida college undergrads. It's frightening.
He's already in his own personal purgatory.
Like, if she wanted him to suffer, he's outside
He's already
of
there.
Orlando. Like, I get it. And then, so Don, I'm just going to fucking call him Craig Wasson because it's not like he's acting. Craig Wasson already has a bookish girlfriend, and then he sees Alice Krieg and is like, "Hey there, hi there, ho there." And Alice Krieg is a very attractive woman, but I don't know that they make her look hubba hubba at any point in this movie when she's not without clothes. Which it never feels like, whoa, who's that? The most attractive lady I've ever seen. They don't ever really do that. I
agree. She's gorgeous. She's also is she in Sleepwalkers?
She sure is.
Yes, she is. She
gorgeous.
She is in Sleepwalkers, and she was the Borg Queen in one of the later Star Trek movies.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because she's
ever
gorgeous.
Want to see a Borg fuck a robot? Go and watch that Star Trek.
I've got a running list now after this conversation.
she's got one of those great like ethereal faces. She was born to play like an undead woman seeking revenge.
Yes,
yes, great way to put it.
I wholeheartedly believe. Like, is it possible that Alice Krieg's hair work in this movie eventually gives rise to the Ring's Samara and the Judge's Kayoko? Because she's the first ghost I can think of that does the whole hair in front of your face thing. Unless that is a part of South Asian ghost lore prior to the Ring. I don't really know that. I'm not an expert.
I don't know.
Yeah. That being said, I think the second most haunted image in this entire film is when she seductively feeds ice cream to Craig Wasson and accidentally gives him a chocolate Hitler stash. Like, this is a horror movie.
I don't think that was accidental.
I didn't catch that at all. It's the first thing I'm going to watch
what I think she's going for, what I think the movie is going for, is to paint the mustache of his father on him, in the sense marking him as, you're part of the reason why I died and everything. But it don't look that way, everybody. It looks like a chocolate Hitler stash. And then they're so horned up from this ice cream eating that I know we've talked about one movie that has a horny ice cream sequence, but I can't remember what it is. This is the problem with doing 10 years of a podcast. You can't remember all the shit you talked about. But they're so horned up by this. They're like, we got to get back to a house and have sex immediately. And so they absolutely do. But I just, for one, call me a prude, I don't think the main point of sex is to try to get a rug burn over your entire body. And that's how sex is presented.
Yeah, it's got some pretty good. It's got some pretty bad ADR in it too.
Yeah,
where they're already in the middle of having sex. And she's like, I want you. And it's like, you have him already.
You guys are naked on a couch.
I was like, that's something you say before the clothes come off.
Yeah, it's like it was a completely different scene. Then I like grab that audio. Anywho, Don basically meets Alma. They have this fling. He can't get any backstory out of her no matter how much he asks. They're fucking in tubs. And the woman...
Which is never a good idea.
No. Again, we're longtime proponents of sex and water really don't mix because water is a drying element. I know it sounds weird, but when it comes to sex, it dries things out, and that's not great for sex. They also have sex in a woman's bathroom, which I don't know.
She's like really obsessed with the idea of going to his hometown.
Yeah. Yes.
And which is like, he's just sort of takes, reads that as, well, that's kind of weird.
Why would you want to go to my hometown? It is
like he greets everything, up to a certain point that she does, but that's kind of weird.
That's odd. I mean, at one point she just screams bloody murder inside of a bathtub, and he's like, that's not the reaction I was looking for.
Yeah, he took that really well. Cause that was a good moment. I didn't know, I didn't expect that at all. And it was a nice jump. But then the cut, it was like, everything's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Is it?
They go on a weird vacation to a cabin that is either from the Mangler or the Slayer. Take your pick. It looks very South Carolina, no matter what it is. Alma lays out her relationship goals, and they really seem to be centered on going back to his hometown, marrying him in a white dress in front of the Chowder Society. And he's kind of like, I don't see that for me, and I certainly don't see that for us. And she's like, but, and that's when he's like reaches out to her, and he's like, ooh, you're cold like a corpse. Get it, everybody? Get it? Do you get it? And so instead of flinging his limp dick out of a window, Don just breaks up with her, and she takes that great.
And yeah, but also like he's also, but then he's the one that sort of falls into this like alcoholic despair,
right? Yeah. And he's like, I don't see that. He pretty much like, this isn't what I want. And she's like, fuck y'all, I'm out. And he's like, oh, but wait. And then, he immediately falls into the sweatiest depression you've ever seen.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. Well, I mean, I understood it, but in terms of like, wouldn't you feel a bit of relief? Because wasn't it him that was like, I need to get out of this?
Yeah, he breaks up with her, and then he's like, oh, I made a giant mistake. And I'm like, no, you didn't. But the next morning, he wakes up just sweaty in bed, groaning. And then I started to count how many times men are filmed in bed groaning by themselves. So if that is your sexual kink, enjoy multiple orgasms from Ghost Story 1981.
One of my first notes the first time I watched it were a lot of old men sweating in their beds.
Just a lot. Like it's an image this director wants to capture. Don instantly, as I mentioned, goes into a massive sweaty depression, learning that Alma has skipped town, and later makes a phone call from a bar to discover that his twin brother, who has a fancy mustache, is in fact sleeping with Alma. And he's like, oh, that's a bad idea. And he's like, it seems great to me right now. Of course, that is before his limp dick kisses a pool deck after falling 25 stories. But what are you going to do?
So you're saying you're not taking that for your choose your own death sentence?
No. There are men. No, fuck that. It does not seem fun. It didn't seem fun for the stuntman who had to hit that rubberized pool deck butt ass naked. But I don't want to do that. Nevertheless, do the real thing. As much as I enjoyed defenestration. That being said, if you're going to watch the movie, pay attention to every single bar patron in the place that Don makes that phone call, because every single character actor in that place, every background actor looks like they made their money the old fashioned way, producing snuff films.
Yeah, I remember a woman behind him on the phone giving him like a look.
Where is she from? She looks like an extra from Sid and Nancy. And they're like, she's nodding out, staring at him on the phone. I don't know where that person comes from, where the bald guy at the corner of the bar who keeps looking over like, you're going to use that phone all night? Maybe it's a phone. It's meant to be used for calls. What the fuck are we doing here? The scene. So that's the big giant backstory, which brings me to one of the main problems with the movie that maybe I haven't quite articulated. It's essentially 3 fucking flashbacks. In the forward momentum of a movie, you can't constantly go back and feel scared about what's going to happen when you know what's going to happen. It just doesn't work. And it's not to say that it can't, but it certainly doesn't here.
Right.
Yeah.
We now return back to Milburn, and Dr. John, who appears in almost every scene he's in to be having a heart attack, nearly chokes his wife in the middle of the night, as we mentioned earlier. And then the next morning after going, does he ever say sorry? Because that's a big problem.
I don't think he does.
No, he just seems a little like, I did?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I just, sorry would have gone a long way for me. But after like hearing, hey, you nearly choked me to death in your sleep last night, that's when you got to go, man, that's a bad look for me. I apologize for that. He never fucking does. But we learn that Eva has posed as a patient and stolen his pills like a real Old Glory insurance robot. And so John eventually has a heart attack when he can't find the pills. Now, in the original version of this movie, he sees Eva show up as a big goopy skeleton. And that would make sense because that's how she normally appears to people. But for some reason, Universal is like, no. And I don't know why. It's wrong.
Is this where she says, I think I'll take a bite out of this one? Is that him?
I think it is because she says it again.
Yeah, she says it again. That's what she says to him when he turns around, and then you see her as like liquid or whatever it is that she is. Yeah. And then he's dead.
Yeah. So, Sears and Ricky realizing it's only a matter of time before they get bumped off by a goop ghost, they come clean. All right. The Chowder Society's gay men about town all fall for the same gal, Eva Galley, in the 1920s. Ed makes the first move. Turns out that, like many a Johnson in this movie, his dick don't work so well, but it doesn't go flopping in the wind before it smacks pavement. When Eva tries to tell that story later to all the guys, Ed jumps up to stop her and ends up shoving her to the ground, and her head smashes into a stone fireplace. It could happen to any of us. But instead of going to the police and go, oops, she fell down, go boom, they're like, no. This is better. We'll just make her disappear. Take her car, roll it into the pond. Problem solved. Thing is, once they push it in there, she's like, oops, wait, I'm alive, everybody. The water woke me up. And they're like, oh, shit. And we have back.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing that, like, but their reaction is they're genuinely distraught over this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Whereas in the book, they're just kind of like, we have to, we come from good families in this town. We're allowed to get away with this kind of thing. It's like, it's interesting that, like, they really wanted the audience to be on these characters' sides.
I know what you did last summer. Disease from
like this was a terrible accident,
right? And it's like, but go to the police and say it's a terrible fucking accident. Like you, if you have these rich families, you would have gotten away with that. And that's where, if you shave all the backstory out of the book, out of the movie, you're not going to know why they're making that decision. And it just seems kind of incoherent. I'll say, I will also not be choosing get pushed over by a guy, appear dead, and then drown in a car. That seems like a bad way to go.
Yeah, to me, it seems like the story plays best if they are unlikable. Like, as you both say, reading the book, it's like they were much more unlikable, and that plays.
They're more complex, I guess would be the word that I would use. But here they're just a bunch of sad old men.
Yes, I'm like, I initially feel
I get no joy out of seeing them tormented.
No, not at all. I'm like, even some of the scenes, I'm like, I hope he gets out of that scene all right. You know, like, hope he makes it to bed tonight. Everything's gonna be okay. And it's odd because I do feel sorry for them in a way. So it's like, I kind of want them to get the comeuppance, and I don't feel that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I just feel like, they're old men that are tormented by this. And then one of them gets away with it.
One of them gets away with it. And so at this point, Don's like, all right, we need to go to this house and figure out where this goopy ghost is and try to figure out a resolution. And Sears is all like, I don't want to, but I don't want to be alone. And Ricky's like, okay, let's do it. And so they go to the house, and they're not there a minute when fucking Craig Wasson falls through the stairs and becomes instantly useless, thereby validating all of our critiques of him. No man has been more useless more often than Craig Wasson. He could be a very nice person. Again, we have said this often. We don't know him personally. We have never heard a bad word against this poor guy. But on screen, I don't care for it.
Yeah. No. And that scene definitely explained why a staircase was in my memory. Yeah. From this movie. It was like, because there's a long, slow staircase scene. Okay.
He just fucking falls through it straight out of Salem's Lot. So at this point, he's got a broken leg. He's huddled up in a corner. Sears is like, well, I'm going to go in the car and like get somebody, because no one has a cell phone. It's 1981. So he takes off. And Ricky just like looks around the rest of the house where nothing has fucking happened. And Wasson lies like a lump. Sears has one of these. He has a Toonces the Driving Cat sequence here where he keeps moving the steering wheel back and forth like he's driving a boat.
Wait, I have a question about this scene. Is the snowplow operator the same guy who sees Douglas Fairbanks Jr. take a header off the bridge? Yes. Because that dude's had a bad
week. That dude has had one, like, he has seen multiple old men die. And again, that would make more sense in the book version of things, where the whole town's really going through it. But it really does seem like just this guy is having the shittiest week of all time, watching old men bite it. And so he runs through Alma Eva's ghost, and he's like, whew, okay, that was bad. And then he's within, it's like something out of Austin Powers, where he's so far away from the snowplow, what is in front of him. He's like, oh no. And they like throw their hands up the screen like, don't run into me. Don't run into me. And you're like, maybe you guys shouldn't drive in the middle of the fucking road. You both have brakes. What the fuck is going on? And he veers off the road, hits a snowbank, and he's like, whew, that was close. But of course, someone in a nightgown is in the back seat. That's Fenny Bate. And he just goes, "Ay," and that's it. Like, he doesn't sink his teeth into his eyeball. Like, there's a million things you could do here that would tell you, oh, he met a bad end. But I don't know. He just fucking keels over. I don't get it.
It always pulls its punches.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great way to put it. That's exactly how I felt. Like, there were so many moments that I genuinely thought, like, this is cool. I thought the first death, that whole sequence when he was walking down the street and it was snowing and they're like, hey, Mayor, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like, that worked really well. It played really well. And there's other elements I think that play really well, but like, it's exactly that. They pull their punches. You're like, this should end in a bang, and it ends in a whimper most of the time.
You would think the MPAA was like, listen, you can either have that floppy dick smack pool deck, or you can have all of this other stuff. And you're like, I gots to get that floppy dick on screen.
It's in Craig's contract.
And so they just don't have anything happen to these people. And yeah, you're right. Like the Fairbanks death, his head smacks on ice. It's visceral.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it starts pulling its punches after that. So after they notice that Sears isn't coming back with help, Ricky's like, well, I guess I'm going to wander out and see what I can do. And who happens to pick him up off the side of the fucking road but Gregory Bate, who is dressed in yet another weird semi-greaser outfit. And he's like, guess what? Eva/Alma is going to make me immortal. And you're like, what? Weren't you a ghost? I always thought you were a ghost. You mean that kid was walking around with a fucking necklace in his mouth this whole fucking time? And Ricky's like, hold on. I have a spare steak knife that I just happened to have in my pocket. I missed this. If he like grabbed a knife and stuck it in his pocket.
He does.
He does. Okay, great. It's not the best stabbing weapon, but I guess it works. And he stabs Gregory and they go tumbling over a snowbank, and somehow ancient ass Fred Astaire survives.
Yeah, he should be shattered like a Ming bomb.
Yes. Broken like a China doll, truly. Meanwhile, Donnie McDo-Nothing is one of our favorite. He's making rat friends in that corner of that dusty ass house, as you do. Until here comes the corpse bride. It's Eva/Alma, and it takes her 2 fucking full minutes to walk down the stairs. And you're like, why is this taking so long? Because it's being intercut with Ricky summoning the cops, getting a tow truck, magically hooking that tow truck's hook to a rusted hunk of a car in the middle of a pond that he just fucking knows like 10 meters that way. That all happens while she's walking down the stairs. And you're like, that doesn't work. And you're right. The whole back half of this movie doesn't work. But she's, giving little bon mots here like, haven't you been longing for me? No. No. Honestly not. Don't you want to make love to me? Every time I touch you, you're like a wet corpse. So no. And then lo and behold, she reaches out and strokes his cheek, and she's got a fucking wet corpse hand.
Yeah, and he's like,
He's like, I don't care for this. And like, I don't either. That corpse had to touch Craig Wasson.
Yeah,
we're gonna get sued.
Again, he might be the nicest man on earth. It's not Craig Wasson the person. It's Craig Wasson when he's on screen.
Yeah, I think this, for me, though, the ending, it all plays well if there's going to be a reveal. But we already know who's coming down the stairs. We already know who's going to be in the car. So none of it's a reveal. You're just waiting to see what the special effects look like.
And they're great.
They're great. When she falls out of the car, that's great. I love that moment.
I think that's the best of many, many great wet corpses. She is a JELLO corpse who is just encased in aspic. And Ricky opens the door and it's like, oh, thank you.
She does do a little bit of a slow corpse.
Yeah.
she goes in for a corpse hug and misses and hits frozen ground. And then everyone looks over Ricky's shoulder like, shit. And then it cuts back to Donnie McFuckall. And he's like, oh, that ghost disappeared. And he gets up, flops out. Everyone looks over Ricky's shoulder and like, damn, that's weird. You cut back to fucking Wasson. And he's like, oh, the corpse disappeared. Huh. Fade to black.
Yeah.
And the movie just whimpers its way. Like, wasn't that a wild reveal? And you're like, I guess, but I kind of knew a corpse was in that car because I was told a live body was in there at one point.
Right.
So
like it's just you revealed the punchline way too early. And it's like technically I feel like it's built. I mean, it's cross-cut way too slow, but I mean, technically I get what they're doing, but but we all know what's happening. We're like, okay, just come on, hurry up.
Yeah. I think if I was a child, as you were, Brendan, when you saw it originally, this would work, I guess, if I didn't know how fast and scary movies work. This is spooky enough that it kind of, you're all right with it. That it as a ghost movie, all right. But it pulls too many of its punches. It just, the framework of it doesn't hang. And if you know anything of the book, it's just kind of a disappointment. And that's why I think a lot of people met it, because this was a giant fucking book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any last words we have to say about 1981's Ghost Story?
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's it's kind of always the minimum I give to a movie, to a fine horror movie, is it's got some atmosphere. Well, again, it doesn't do it as effectively as the book. You get the sense that this is a little isolated town out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. I mean, I definitely would have preferred if they had really, tried to explore a little bit that she had a hold on the entire town and not just these 5 characters, which for all they're the only characters they're the only people in the entire town. But I do think that the pacing is very weird. I can certainly see where people would be confused by the time jumps if they weren't paying 100% attention at all times. I just think it's I don't want to say it's an unfilmable book, because if you could probably do it as a limited series.
Now you could, if you had 6 to 8 episodes, you could make a great fucking ghost story. And
yeah, it's just would the audience be there for it?
Yeah, and it doesn't have the cachet that it did when this thing came out. So
I think they whittled it down to the bare minimum plot, and it loses a lot in the translation.
I agree. Brendan?
Well, it's funny because this is one of those movies, I'm sure you guys do the same thing I do. You always look at like obscure lists of things you've never seen. Mm-hmm. And I've always had it like, I'll go back and watch it, but it's never come up on those lists. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why doesn't it come up on these like great obscure things? Now I kind of understand why. Like, it's solid in moments, but it is clunky and it sort of feels like disparate stories sort of at moments. Mm-hmm. But technically, I mean, some of it's done really well. Some of the cast is great. And honestly, that moment where I heard her voice and I had that flashback of being a kid and being scared by that voice was like, it was worth the price of admission for that. Like, I completely loved it. But I will say, the story that the two of you are telling me seems infinitely more interesting than the movie. Like, because to me, I was like, why was this such a popular book? It just seems like an intimate story. I didn't understand why they kept going over these things, but now it all makes sense that this was a bigger story about her and the town, and that makes more sense.
And a bunch of these stories reflect other like classic American supernatural tales, and they're just sort of retold in a different way, and they build on one another. And then you see refractions of those stories pervade the town. The entire town becomes the ghost story.
Yeah.
And that really, really works. And yeah, Gena's absolutely right. Like, if you did this as an extended series and, you could make mint, and of course they would structure it where the Eva Galley thing would happen in episode 7. Mm-hmm. That would give you the entirety of the backstory of the Chowder Society instead of like telling it the way it's supposed to be told. But what are you going to do?
Oh, also one thing, Prime, if you watch it streaming, Prime's description of it says, men are haunted by a woman that they drowned 50 years earlier.
Oh, Jesus!
So literally
Christ.
Told me. Yeah. So that was the other thing. I was like, well, I know she died. She drowned at the end. Even when they kill her, I'm like, but they said drown. And they're like, oh, there it is. There's the drowning.
Yeah.
So if anybody needs to know that, avoid that description.
Don't read the description. Yeah. Jesus, why can't they just say
right? Just the one thing. Right. They tell ghost stories. That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's one more story that we need to tell, and that is choosing your own death venture. That's where we decide of the deaths portrayed in this film. If you were forced to die one of those ways, what would it be and why? Up for bid this week, we have Buried Alive. Or you could fall dick first from a high rise, from an apartment building. You have to defenestrate yourself twice through plate glass and then crash into the concrete pool deck. Or you could fall off a bridge into an icy river. You could die of a heart attack when you see a spooky ghost. You could hit your head on a fireplace mantle, get drowned in a car while still alive, or hit a snowbank and get attacked by a ghost urchin. Brendan, you're our guest, so you get to go first.
I've been thinking about this the whole episode. I am going to go, as much as the crashing out of the window is a memorable way to go. I'm going to take a zany car ride into the snow pile and then get attacked by the feral child.
Makes sense. I might sense a run happening here on this. What do you say, Gena?
Yep, I'm taking the snowbank and feral child.
Yes, because it pretty much ends with John Houseman going, "It's been a good run," and that's the way I like to go out. I do not do heights. No. As much as I enjoy defenestration, there's no fucking way I'm falling out of that apartment building. Fuck that noise. You don't get to see my dick that way, audience. And so that pretty much rounds things out. But before we go, Brendan, where can people find you on social medias and see what you're doing?
You can find my movie reviews on TikTok and Instagram at murphco_media, just Murphco Media. And I'm my personal is murphco.net.
I urge people to follow you on TikTok. I think you are fantastic on there. And what I especially like is that you find movies that are not being reviewed by a lot of people and give them genuine reviews for what they are. You don't try to make a movie any more or less than what it is, but review it as it was intended to be presented. And I think you do it with aplomb.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
Fantastic. Gena, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about pop culture and current events on my newsletter, GenaWatchesThings.ghost.io, and I am on at most social medias under Gena Does
Do
Things.
it today, people. Check it out. Don't worry, folks. You can find us on various social medias, including TikTok, where I don't post very often because I'm a bad editor. Or you could go to things that are more text-based, like our Discord server, which there's a link in the show notes to find us there. You can find us on Blue Sky and Threads and Instagram and even the Facebook group if you wish. And of course, we have a Patreon where you can find bonus episodes where we do Q&As, bonus episodes, movie commentaries, and so much more. Welcome, everybody, to 2026. And what are we going to call this, Gena? The Decade of Nightmares?
I don't know if I like that. That's too...
But it's not wrong, right?
No, it isn't.
Okay. So, weirdly enough, this is the start of 10 years of being on the air with you all, and we could not have done it without you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for rating and review us on iTunes or wherever the podcatcher of choice you find us, on Spotify, talking to us there, and YouTube, even if you want. We love to hear back from you. It's always a pleasure. And as always, folks, the body count will continue. For myself, Brendan, and Gena, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
They're all going to laugh at you.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.